this paper is going to go off in a little bit different direction than a lot of what we've been hearing about. I hope it's useful to you. I think it will be. I'm going to talk to you about a project today that we commissioned to help out on a problem that's been plaguing our industry or perplexing our industry for quite some time, and that is, how do we replace the knowledge of our graybeards that are approaching retirement before they get out the door? How do we capture that knowledge back within the organization? Now, this has been on the industry radar for quite some number of years. We've seen a lot of knowledge management solutions come and go. They get implemented and they die fairly quickly after that. The problem's still there. We weren't naive enough to think that what we were going to do here was going to totally solve that problem, but what we wanted to do was stop our hand wringing and actually put something on the ground that helped. So so what I'm going to go through today is what we targeted, how we approached it, and what we delivered as a system. A little bit first on PAS. PAS is founded in 1993 by Eddie Abibi, sitting over to my right. The company is well known for its global solutions, and they're focused in the area of human reliability. Two particular focus areas have been operator effectiveness. Many of you probably know their tools in alarm management, high performance HMI. The other area of focus with PAS has been with their integrity software, which goes into DCS, looks into DCS, extracts information out, creates the relationships of that information, contextualizes it, and delivers back basically configuration management to the user. It's this platform that, for reasons you'll see as I go through this presentation, that we thought this would be a natural extension of what we wanted to do. Okay, so let's start with the drivers and the targeted benefits from the project. Most of the knowledge of our graybeards exists in written form somewhere. You know, most of the incidents that have happened in the past have gotten written down. There's been PowerPoint presentations and a lot of that stuff. Most of the design information is captured somewhere on our plants. Problem is getting it out to the person at the right time, and that's what the graybeard sitting in the corner always remembers to do. So this problem might actually boil down to as simple as go put an industrial strength Google engine on all of our databases and problem solved. But we looked at it and we realized, no, it's a little bit more complex than that. We saw three key issues that we had within our system that were going to have to be solved. And I'll hit the last one on the page first. First, we had no single search engine that would go across all of our databases. Sounds simple, but it wasn't there for a lot of reasons. So we just said, okay, that's a given. We have to have that as an outcome of this project. But a little bit more complex is this evolution we've had away from formal documentation of process changes. I said this stuff's written down, and it is, but a lot of it's captured in email. Okay? Our big projects, you put a big capital project in, yes, you go through a formal documentation process, you got all the design bases, you got the process engineer's thoughts, it's down on paper. When we do small changes in the plant, we make a modification, a whole lot of that thinking often gets passed around in emails as to, hey, I've got an idea, what do you think of this? Somebody else piles on top of it. Pretty soon the concept and the reason for the change is all there in a string of information. That's not informal documentation. You also get a lot of email blogs, and some of those email blogs are rich pieces of information long forgotten that you want to capture. Somebody asks a question and a graybeard jumps in and says, well, the reason that is there is because, and then another one jumps in and says, yeah, that's there for that, but the more important reason it's there is, okay, now you've got something that you don't want to lose. We've got to somehow find a way to get. Problem with email, twofold. Email's not searchable except by the author. Okay, I'm sure that's pretty much the way it is in most companies because of privacy issues, because of confidentiality issues. I don't know of any company that's got an email search tool that goes across everybody's email. Okay, so how do you get to it? Second issue is most emails purge when a person leaves the company. These graybeards retired, their computer is wiped. Okay, that stuff's gone. There's no capture. So we figure out we got to figure out how to solve that. The key loss in there is the logic and the rationale behind our design modifications that we're trying to capture. The third issue is what I call the loss of graybeard technology push. And let me explain that a little bit. Value to the graybeard is he's sitting over there in the corner and he's a sitting encyclopedia. You want to get some information, you go and you ask him and he gives it to you. Okay? I submit to you that there's a much bigger role that person plays. Engineer walks in the graybeard and says, okay, I've got a problem. I'm designing this knockout pot for the suction compressor, and I need a little help sizing the thing. And sits down, and half an hour later, he's been given the help, and he stands up to leave, says, thank you. Graybeard says, sit back down. He says, let me tell you about the time that we wrecked that compressor through a small explosion when we were working on the suction of that on the initial startup because of something we overlooked. Now, you've got a real learning occurring. You got a piece of information that old, forgotten, put in context, delivered to the person just in time. That's what I call graybeard push. We're losing that system. We're losing the ability to associate key pieces of information and deliver it to people at just the right time that they need. Okay, so the objectives of the project are actually quite simple. Capture critical process safety and process design information, and do that while providing search capability across all the sources of process safety information, and push certain key information to individuals based on the context of the search and query. Sounds like a simple statement. The scope, design documents, incident reports, I won't read the whole list, but clearly the first three are very rich. The four below there, you start to get into the configuration of the plant. And again, if you've got a hierarchical relationship of information in the plant, such as what I said we were going to get by extending off this integrity database, you can associate a lot of these documents exactly with pieces of the plant. Constraints in the project. It's a non-starter if we walk in and say we're going to search email. Okay, it's not going to happen. There's no way the company's going to allow that. So we had to figure out how do we get around that issue. Systems got to be highly automated. Why did all these knowledge management systems die? They died because they were a pain to the user. A user confronted with something that's going to have to put extra work into because there's some system that he's got to go figure out to know exactly where to slot something, and he's got to assign keywords and all that. That's not real in the email environment today. Communications are too easy. So we've got to have to accept the fact that a lot of our documentation is going to be freeform. And we can't automate this system by putting a lot of rules on the user. Last is affordable, and I don't think I have to explain that one. Okay, from a client standpoint, the engagement was fairly limited. We had sponsorship from the corporate VP of manufacturing, and we had some client resources that were all part-time, automation engineers, some subject matter experts, and then we had some resources from IT because we were touching IT so many places. And that goes back to why was the sponsorship from the high level important? As we're getting into this, we're touching databases that are owned by all different functions in the corporation. We're getting into IP issues as far as sharing goes. We needed somebody who was able to keep each of those issues as they popped up from becoming a committee going to work on it and keeping this, making this thing drag out to be a 4-year project. Okay, so let's go a little bit deeper in the design criteria. How are we going to capture email? We said we have to have a system to flag candidate emails for capture, and then prioritize those for review and approve for capture. And then once they're approved, they get dumped into a SharePoint database and they're searchable. This is a way of calling out the confidential issues, keeping out the privacy issues. We're only going to capture that stuff which is high and rich in technical content. Easily said, but how do you put such a system in place and still satisfy simple? So what we said is we wanted easy electronic tagging with just a right click on the menu. Person's reading it, right click, one of the menu items is nominate this for inclusion. Simple system to the user. They just vote. The system is going to tabulate the votes of all the users. Okay, and 90 people vote on it versus 15 on another one. There must be something really valuable about that 90. So we got the system now aggregating the votes that it sees coming in. Then we thought, well, we can get a little bit more sophisticated than that. Joe over here, subject matter expert, got a 3-month engineer over here. I'm going to count this as 10 votes. I'm going to count that one as 1. So you can put a weighting factor in there to actually start to get a little bit better means of deciding what has value and what doesn't. At the end of a period, and we said, we started off saying this will be about a month. The system dumps a report, highest to lowest number of votes, and technical leader and maybe a couple of his cronies sit down and they just kind of look down the list and they say, yeah, this all looks good. Let's draw the line right here. Except I want to throw this one out because this is bogus science and we don't want that one in there. It should be a quick and easy process. A couple dangers here. If you don't calibrate the workforce right, you can get too many votes on everything. Or if you don't calibrate them right, you can have very little stuff being saved. That should be an easy correction with a technical leader and his troops. It shouldn't take too long to focus in on the right one. And once it gets approved by the technical leader, I guess I skipped too fast. Once it gets approved by the technical leader, that's the point that it's dumped into SharePoint and becomes searchable. How do we do the push system? Okay, obviously we're going to have a simple, we're going to have a Google-like routine doing text queries and going out and looking through all of our databases. But rather than to stay with that, we wanted the ability to push certain key documents if we recognize certain patterns in what the person was asking that would trigger a gray bear to sit there and say, oh, wait a minute, he's in an area where we've had a lot of safety problems, or he's in an area where we've had a lot of reliability issues. That's the same pattern recognition that we're trying to build into the smarts of the system. And when we see that pattern, we've got key documents that are inserted into the return search right at the top, prioritized right at the top. I think you've been to Amazon and you've seen that work when you buy something. It says, people who bought this also bought these. Well, our analogy here is, engineers who pulled this document out should also have read these 3 over here. Why did we go with PAS? We've had a shared philosophical vision for quite some time between the two companies as to the value of automation in improving process safety and profitability of the plant. That shared vision has allowed us to collaborate on a number of projects, step out things very similar to this in the past 10 years. So we got quite a track record of working with them on things like this. In this particular case, we were looking for a very unique solution. They saw an opportunity where this seemed to line up with a platform that they had, and they were very willing to put the time in to help us develop it. So what did we get? We got the search capability. We were able to tie all the databases in. Some of them took longer than others. There were a lot of unexpected problems there with legacy systems, but we got it. We did get the knowledge push capability. We were able to associate words and demonstrated that it could pull out key information and send it to users when those patterns occurred. We got the email capture system working. The reporting system and approval of the votes were demonstrated through all of that. And in the end, it's a fairly automated system, which was easy to install. It's fairly easy to maintain. It's not a burden on the users. The results, factory acceptance testing was completed last summer. Site acceptance testing began in the fall. The site acceptance test is in progress, and we started training the plant personnel. So in summary, we had a key need for providing some automation to help us out in what we thought was a key area of process safety. The solution that we've got is building on a software platform that we already have in a lot of our plants. It seems to be a natural extension. And these unique capabilities that we have now, we don't know of any place else that these kind of capabilities exist to be able to capture information that's in the current way of people documenting stuff in emails. All right, questions I think we'll be doing when we have the panel. Thank you.